Now in this second part we'll finish off the far distant shore and do some of the work on this middle distance and foreground. I should say this is a piece of Saunders Waterford £200 rough paper, and I paint on what some people regard as the back side of it, the reverse side, in other words the side where you can't read the watermark. It seems to suit me better. Now I want to indicate some of the little bushes and hedgerows you can just discern, but it's quite a close toned application of paint, so always difficult to judge this, so I'll have to put it on the paper before I can see. So let's just start here. Yes, that's about right actually. What I want to do is just suggest the general slope of the fields in the distance. She's opening the door, isn't she? That's the wind rattling. That noise, if you can hear it, is the wind rattling some of the great doors inside the barn that I'm standing in front of. Now let's indicate these trees. A little bit of burnt umber and ultramarine. I'll get a little bit of a tissue just to drag some of the paint off the brush so I can make a dry brush mark. And having the brush, these are just little Chinese calligraphy brushes, having the brush almost parallel to the paper can help me just suggest the small twigs. Of course it's essential to join them up to the branches and then the trunk. As I said earlier on, this is quite an important, albeit appears to be a minor part of the painting, simply because it breaks the skyline. If you imagine, if you didn't have that, the eye would just go backwards and forwards and wander around the horizon. Comes out here, and then we can link these other trees, bushes up. A little bit of dry brushy stuff. Right, now let's carry on with some of this foreground. A little bit of raw umber, lots of very thin strips of colour, various colours. There's some more water here on the I think it's on the marshes rather than in the river. Virgin and raw sienna gives a really nice rich green, enough raw sienna to destroy any evidence of the cool Viridian. So just put a little bit of aureolin yellow there, because as the sun is coming out, that is got quite a bright green here. And then raw sienna and raw umber. There's a bank of sort of dead wind-blown grass. Just try very dilute raw umber. Come back and add some texture to this shortly. And then finally back to that nice rich green. Picture wobbles a bit, it's because my wife is having trouble to hold the camera still in the gusty wind, so apologies for that. Let's just leave that to dry before we add a little bit more texture. Now, last few marks, add a little bit of texture and detail to some of this foreground. The danger is that I overdo it, but I just want to make it look a little bit more sort of solid. I'm just using this number 10 synthetic hairbrush. I don't normally like synthetic hair brushes, but they're quite useful in smaller sizes. This is again Viridian and raw sienna. Just want to glaze this green up here and indicate some of the hedgerows. Burnt sienna, and let's just have a touch of cobalt violet. Annoying colour really, it's really useful, but it seems to drive and go hard very quickly. Little bits of hedgerow here, so run across, back to the green, add a bit of burnt sienna to it. Keep looking at the subject just to get some idea of the variety of marks you can make. Otherwise you end up repeating yourself. There's lots of little bits of dried weeds and leftover crops. Burnt umber and cadmium orange. Concentrating on putting these very much where the white holes are, actually, because I don't want too many white holes in this foreground here. because they diminish the impact of the light on the water. You have to sacrifice some things. For the sake of other areas. A little bit of tractor tracks there. And there's sort of long bits of weed and things here, grasses. Just suggest some of them, mainly because they break up the this light struck area here, so it closes that. But I'm going to play them down here. Sometimes if I just want a little bit of water on the brush, rather than dip it in, I'll just put it in the corner of the palette, and that will give me enough just on the tip of the brush, rather than wetting the whole of the brush and getting too much. Now there's a couple of telegraph poles there, and a little sort of bird hide there, and another one here, worth putting in, just as a sort of, even though the viewer may not know exactly what they are, but they add a little bit of interest. Study where it is. It's that just to the, if you drop a vertical down from that pig hopper that's just to the right. So often people add these things rather thoughtlessly and end up with them all in the same sort of straight line. There's another telegraph pole here. Mainly because it's a vertical, we've got so many horizontals. Right, well thanks for watching, and I hope you've enjoyed this quick outdoor sketch on probably not the most inviting day to paint, but nevertheless I think you get the most interesting clouds and skies when the conditions are less appealing than they would normally be in the summer. I think now my wife and I deserve a hot cup of coffee and a scone, and you may be unaware, but there's Old Hall Cafe, Southwold, about 50 yards to my right, so that's where we're going to go now. Thanks for watching.